Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Obsessive Compulsive Gaming. I am the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer, and this is my review for FRAN BOW. So dear viewers, this particular video game originally released all the way back in 2015. A year I remember fondly as the year I played a hell of a lot of video games. But we're not here to talk about just any video game. We are here to talk about FRAN BOW. So this is what we call a graphic adventure game with psychological horror elements. Developed and produced by Kill Monday Games, an indie studio headed by a husband and wife team. Now, to give anything away about the story will be to spoil the whole point in playing this game, but I'll just say that we play as Fran, a 10-year-old girl who seems to be struggling from mental illness. After witnessing the murder of her parents, she is subsequently found and incarcerated in an asylum. And in doing so, they have separated Fran from her bestest friend in the whole world, her black cat, Mr. Midnight. So in a nutsack, Fran escapes from the asylum and goes on a bit of an adventure, in which she may or may not find out all the circumstances surrounding the death of her parents. So let's review this video game the only way I know how, badly. And let's talk about what I actually enjoyed about the game. I've always been a big fan of mixing what at first might appear to be a child-friendly game with very mature themes and elements of horror, and you can bet your third nipple FRAN BOW is filled to the brim with uncomfortable moments, hallucinations, horrific characters, violence, death of loved ones, death of animals. If you're expecting an episode of Rugrats from Nickelodeon, then you are sadly going to be mistaken. This is very much a horror-based experience, for the most part. There's also some elements of fantasy, but I'll talk about that very soon. I also absolutely adore this game's art style, and from the research that I've done, that's all pretty much down to the husband and wife team. I can't remember if it was the wife who did all the artwork or the husband. Maybe the husband composed the soundtrack for the game, and let me just say the soundtrack is absolutely fantastic as well. The only thing I'll say about the sound design is I was rather disappointed to see that this game has so much dialogue, and yet none of it is voice acted. Always a bit of a letdown in my book. Did it destroy the game? No, of course, absolutely not. I grew up in a time where no video games had voice acting, but I just think it would be really nice to have heard all of the characters in this game with voices to go along with them. Hell, if the developers had asked me, I would have voiced every single character in this game, and I'd have done it free of charge. Well, I might not have done it for free, but I would have done it. And the final nice thing I'll say is that the actual story itself, I very much enjoyed. And that's essentially what kept me playing the game, because I wanted to find out exactly what was going on. What was the hidden meaning behind certain things. And I must say that having finished it after about 4 hours, I didn't really time it, I'm fairly satisfied with how it all turned out. So that's gonna segue me rather nicely into what I didn't enjoy about this game so much. Now, this first criticism is sadly not this game's fault, but I'm just not the biggest lover anymore of point-and-click video games. There's always a distinct lack of action. Everything always has this kind of formula where You have to wander around and talk to everyone and examine everything so you know what items you're going to need to progress in the game, or what puzzles you're going to have to solve. What items are you going to have to maybe combine so you can make a key or some such nonsense? I just find it all to be incredibly slow and repetitive. But that's only the gameplay. I'm not talking about the story. I'm not talking about characterization here. I'm not talking about the writing. In fact, I very much enjoyed the writing. And like I say, this is just my own personal hang-up to do with point-and-click games. I've played so many of them that, frankly, they just don't have the same appeal to me as, I don't know, an adventure platformer or a side-scrolling platform-type game. After a while, I just find myself reaching for the nearest walkthrough so I don't spend the next half an hour figuring out how I get out of this bloody room I'm locked in. I already mentioned the lack of voice acting. That would have been nice to have. But from what I understand, there are other games maybe do have voice acting. So that'll be something we can talk about when I play... What's the name of that other game? I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about if you're familiar with its developer's work. Killmundi Games. Great name for a game development company. But anyway, honestly, apart from the fact that the decision was made to make this a point-and-click video game, I enjoyed absolutely everything else about this game. And in fact, I'm kicking myself for it taking me so long to finally getting round to play this game. Therefore, I declare that FRAN BOW is pretty good. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my review for FRAN BOW. If you enjoyed this little review of mine, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't enjoyed it, well then feel free to give me a thumbs down. But please remember the single most important thing I always tell you, dear viewer, and that is to always stay obsessed with gaming. Are you still here? Oh, you must have really enjoyed this video then. In that case, you had better subscribe to the channel and check out our other content. Otherwise, you're a booby pants.